You ever notice how some people assume that if you don't have a huge crowd around you all the time, something must be off? Like if you're not constantly surrounded by a group, moving from one social event to another, then you must be lonely or incomplete. But let me tell you something. There's a woman out there right now with few or no friends, just a small, close-knit circle, and she is one of the most grounded and secure individuals you will ever come across. She doesn't need the approval of a crowd to know her worth. She understands who she is, what she stands for, and that is real power. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having friends or being social. That's all good. But when you see a woman who is completely content with herself, even without all of that, you're looking at someone who has figured out something deep about life, about herself. It takes real strength to go through life without constantly seeking validation from others. When you always have a big crowd around you, there will always be opinions, distractions, and people trying to pull you in different directions. But when your circle is small, really small, you get to focus on what truly matters. You start hearing your own voice clearly, without the noise of other people's expectations clouding your judgment. A woman who doesn't need a large group around her is a woman who knows she's enough. She doesn't measure her value by how many people she knows or how many social invitations she gets. No, she's measuring her life by something deeper. How aligned she is with her values, her goals, her purpose. She's living for herself, not for show. Do you know how rare that is? Do you realize how much strength it takes to be completely comfortable in your own company, to sit in silence and not feel like you're missing out on anything? That's the mark of someone who has done the inner work, faced her insecurities, and come out stronger on the other side. People talk a lot about confidence, like it's something you have to flaunt for the world to see, like you have to be loud about it or it doesn't count. The truth is, real confidence isn't loud at all. It's not about being flashy. It's not about walking into a room and making sure everyone notices you. True confidence is quiet, steady, and unshakable. It's about knowing who you are at your core without needing to prove anything to anyone. And that, my friend, is a rare kind of strength. When a woman is truly secure, when she's comfortable in her own skin, she's not out here trying to grab attention. She's not bending over backward to fit into every social circle. She's walking her own path. And she's perfectly content with it. That's what it means when we say a woman with a small circle is secure. She doesn't need a crowd to feel valued. She's already validated herself. She's already done the self-reflection, looked in the mirror, and decided she is enough. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Doesn't everybody need people? Doesn't everyone need friends? And yes, we all need connection. We are human after all. We need love, support, and companionship. But it's not about how many people you have around you. It's about the quality of the ones you keep close. That's what makes all the difference. The woman with the small circle understands that. She's not out here collecting acquaintances or adding people to her life just to have a number. She has a few solid people, and that's all she needs. The ones in her circle, they matter. They're there for her, not because of what they can gain from her, but because they genuinely care. They're loyal, they're trustworthy, they uplift her when she's down, and they celebrate her wins without jealousy or competition. And you know what? That's enough. That's all she needs. She doesn't crave a big group because she knows not everyone has her best interests at heart. She isn't fooled by the illusion of popularity. She isn't caught up in the numbers game, trying to impress people who wouldn't truly be there when it counts. Let me tell you something about those small circles. They're real. They're built on trust, on loyalty, on authenticity. There's no pretending, no need for masks, no need to put on a show. The woman with a small circle understands that it's not about knowing a lot of people. It's about deeply knowing the ones who truly matter. It's about depth, not breadth. She has chosen to invest in meaningful relationships. the kind that endure, the kind that stands strong when life gets tough. But let's not act like this kind of security and strength comes easy. It doesn't. A woman who is secure with a small circle didn't just wake up one day and decide to close herself off. No, she's been through things. She's learned hard lessons. Maybe she's been betrayed by those she once called friends. Maybe she's seen how quickly people can turn on you when it's convenient for them. Maybe she's faced moments of loneliness, wondering if anyone really had her back. But instead of letting those experiences break her, she used them to build herself up. That's the thing about life. It will test you. It will show you who's really in your corner and who's just there for the ride. And once you learn those lessons, you start moving differently. You stop letting just anyone into your space. You stop trying to be everything for everyone. You start protecting your peace, guarding your energy, and setting boundaries. And that's not about shutting people out. It's about being intentional about who you let in. When you've been let down enough times, you start to realize that not everyone deserves access to you. You begin to see that your energy is valuable and you can't just give it away to anyone. So you get selective. You start choosing quality over quantity. And that's not always easy, especially in a world that tells us we need to be liked by everyone, that we need to be popular, that we need to be surrounded by people to be considered valuable. But the woman with the small circle, she knows better. She's figured out that her worth isn't tied to how many people want to be around her. Her worth is tied to how she feels about herself when she's alone, when there's no crowd, no noise, just her. This kind of woman isn't looking for attention. She isn't chasing approval. She's already given herself the validation she needs. That's why she can walk into a room without caring whether anyone notices her. She isn't trying to impress anybody because she's already impressed herself. She knows her value isn't determined by how many people know her name, but by how true she is to herself. And let me tell you, that kind of confidence, it's powerful, it's unshakable. It doesn't fade when things get hard. It doesn't disappear when people walk away. It's the kind of confidence that lasts because it comes from within. But don't get it twisted. This woman still values connection. She still values friendship. She still deeply cares for the people in her life who truly matter. But she's not settling for just anyone. She's not opening her circle to people who don't deserve a place in it. She's not interested in surface-level friendships or fake relationships. She wants the real thing. The kind built on trust, loyalty, and mutual respect. It takes a lot of strength to walk away from people who don't have your best interests at heart. It takes courage to say, I'm not going to surround myself with negativity, with drama, with chaos. But the woman with the small circle, she's not afraid to do that. She's not afraid to stand alone if it means protecting her peace. She's learned that sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is to be intentional about who you allow into your life. And that's not about being unfriendly or distant, it's about being wise. It's about understanding your value and not accepting anything less than you deserve. It's about setting limits and safeguarding your energy, because at the end of the day, your peace, your happiness, your well-being, those are the things that truly matter. If that means keeping your circle small, then so be it. The truth is, some people will never grasp. They'll see a woman with few or no friends and assume she's missing out. They'll think she's lonely, that she's isolated, that she's somehow incomplete. But what they fail to understand is that this woman is living life on her own terms. She's not worried about what others think. She's not trying to fit into someone else's vision of what happiness or success should look like. She's focused on her own journey, her own growth, her own dreams, and that's what makes her secure. See, when you are truly secure in yourself, you don't feel the need to prove anything to anyone. You're not seeking approval or attention. You're at peace with who you are and where you're headed. And that's a powerful state of mind. That kind of confidence lets you move through life with your head held high, even when you're walking alone. So the woman with a small circle, she's not lonely. She's free. She's free from the need to impress others, free from the pressure to fit in, free from the burden of meeting other people's expectations. She's living life on her own terms, and that's what makes her truly secure. And let me tell you something else. This type of woman, she's a leader. She might not have a large crowd surrounding her, but the ones who are in her life admire her. They respect her. They see her strength, her confidence, her independence, and they are inspired by it because deep down, everyone wants that kind of security. Everyone wants to move through life knowing they are enough, just as they are, without needing a huge crowd to make them feel validated. The woman with the small circle has found that security, and that's what makes her powerful. She's not out here chasing attention, trying to be everything to everyone. She knows exactly who she is, and she's perfectly content with that. At the end of the day, it's all that really matters. See, when you've been let down, when you've been disappointed by people, you begin to realize that not everyone deserves access to your life. It's like a shift in perspective. You stop believing that you need to let everyone in, that you have to be available to everybody. When that shift happens, that's when you start to grow. You see, it's not about shutting people out or being unapproachable. It's about being selective. It's about recognizing that not everyone who smiles at you is genuine. Not everyone who calls you a friend truly has your best interests at heart. And that's where wisdom comes into play. Now, a lot of people misinterpret that. They assume that if you're not opening yourself up to everyone, if you're not bending over backward to please people, that you're cold or distant. But the reality is that once you've been through enough, you come to a point where you value your peace more than anything. You start to see that your time and energy are precious. They are valuable resources, and just like anything valuable, they can be depleted if you invest too much in the wrong people. So you learn to be selective, you stop feeling obligated to be everything for everyone, and you start prioritizing being true to yourself. That's where real confidence comes from. It's not about the number of people around you, but the quality of the relationships you have. It's about knowing that the people in your life are there because they genuinely care about you. That's why, when you reach that level of understanding, it's not about having a big circle. It's about having a strong one, filled with people who uplift you, who encourage your growth, and who genuinely want to see you succeed. Now, society loves to create labels, doesn't it? Especially when it comes to women. If a woman isn't overly social, if she's not always laughing and engaging with everyone, they call her difficult or distant. They say she's unapproachable or has an attitude. But what they fail to realize is that these women have learned to protect their peace. They've learned that not everyone deserves access to their personal space. It's not that they are difficult, it's that they have come to understand the importance of guarding their well-being, and they refuse to let just anyone disrupt that. You see, when you've experienced betrayal, when you've been taken advantage of or hurt by people you once trusted, you become more cautious. You start to understand that your time, your attention, your love, these are things that should be given intentionally, not freely. You have to protect your space, because if you don't, the wrong people will enter your life and take more than they give. They will bring negativity, drama, and unnecessary stress. And a woman who has been through that, she's not going to let it happen again. That's why she's not interested in gossip and chaos and unnecessary distractions. She's focused on peace. She's focused on creating something meaningful, something lasting. She's focused on her own self-improvement, her own journey. And when you're on that kind of path, you don't have time for negativity. You don't have time to entertain relationships that don't serve you. You have to be mindful. You have to be intentional. And that's exactly why her circle remains. The interesting part is that people on the outside will look at her and think she's missing something. They'll assume she's alone or that she's unhappy. But what they don't understand is that she chose this life. She made the decision to keep her circle small because she knows that quality is far more important than quantity. She's not interested in surface-level friendships. She's not looking for temporary connection. She's building something real, something that stands the test of time. The people in her small circle, they are the ones who matter. They are the ones who have stood by her, not just during the good moments, but through the struggles too. They are the ones who have seen her at her lowest and never left. They are the ones who support her success, not because they expect something in return, but because they genuinely care about her. That's the kind of support system she has created, and that's where her confidence comes from. You see, when you've been let down repeatedly, when you've been hurt by those you trusted, you start to see relationships differently. You start to realize that not everyone deserves a place in your life. You start setting boundaries, and you refuse to let them be crossed. And that's not about being cold or unapproachable. That's about knowing your worth. It's about understanding that you deserve people who respect you, who uplift you, who bring out the best in you. The woman who has learned to protect her energy, she's not bitter. She's not walking around carrying resentment. She has simply learned that her peace, her happiness, her well-being, these are things she has to guard. And that requires being selective. That requires not giving just anyone access to her life. That requires understanding that her worth isn't based on how many friends she has or how many people surround her. Her worth is defined by how true she is to herself, by how much she honors her own boundaries, by how much she values her own peace. People are there in her life because they genuinely appreciate her, not because they want something from her. And that is a strong position to be in. You see, when you reach that stage in life, where you stop trying to be everything for everyone, when you no longer allow just anyone into your space, that's when real transformation begins. That is when you truly start becoming the best version of yourself, because you're no longer distracted by unnecessary noise, nor burdened by relationships that do not add value to your life. You're focused, you're deliberate, and that is where the real magic takes place. When you concentrate on your personal growth and self-improvement, you naturally begin to attract people who are on the same journey. You start to surround yourself with individuals who align with your values, your aspirations, and your vision for the future. That is what makes these small circles so meaningful. They are not just filled with people who enjoy the good times, but with those who stick around through the tough times as well. They are composed of individuals who are truly invested in your success, who want to see you thrive, not for their own gain, but simply because they sincerely care about you. And let me tell you, that kind of support is invaluable. That is exactly what we all need in life. We do not need countless acquaintances or a huge crowd of people who only show up when times are smooth. We need a few trustworthy individuals who will stand beside us through all seasons, who will motivate, challenge, and support us regardless of the circumstances. And that is exactly what a woman with a small circle has. She has quality people in her life. And that is all she requires. If you believe that having a large group of friends is necessary to feel secure, happy, or validated, let me tell you that is simply not true. Real confidence does not come from how many people surround you. It comes from the depth of your relationships. It comes from understanding who you are, knowing your worth, and refusing to settle for anything less than what you deserve. It comes from setting boundaries, guarding your peace, and being mindful of who you allow into your life. Not everyone will understand this. Some people might think you're too selective, too reserved, or that you are shutting others out. But that is okay, because at the end of the day, the only person who truly needs to understand your journey is you. The only person who needs to be comfortable with your decisions is you. And when you reach that place of peace, when you are secure in yourself and the people you choose to be around, that is when you will truly feel free. That is when you will realize that a small, intentional circle filled with people who genuinely care about you is far more valuable than a large group of people who are just along for the ride. That is where true security lies. So, when you see a woman who has few or no friends, do not assume she is missing out on something. Do not jump to conclusions thinking she is lonely or isolated. She is not. She is strong. She is confident. She is focused. This is a woman who has chosen to put herself, her peace, and her goals first. And that requires courage. It takes a great deal of strength to go against societal expectations, to reject the idea that you must always be surrounded by people in order to feel valued. But she has come to understand that validation does not come from numbers, it comes from within. This woman knows something that many tend to overlook. Solitude is not something to fear. Solitude is where true strength is found. It is where you discover who you are and what you truly want out of life. And when you strip away the distractions, the external influences, and the pressure to be everything for everyone else, that is when you truly grow. When you spend time alone, you are not constantly seeking approval or attention from others. You are sitting with yourself, confronting your thoughts and emotions, and that is where true clarity is born. That is when you start to understand what really matters to you. Have you ever noticed how the loudest people in the room are often the most insecure? They rely on attention and external noise to feel a sense of worth. But the woman with a small circle, she does not need that. She has found peace in her own company. She is comfortable with herself. She has learned to love herself enough not to chase after validation from others. And that is a powerful place to be. When you reach that level of self-awareness, when you realize that the most important relationship you will ever have is the one with yourself, everything shifts. You are no longer trying to prove anything to anyone. You are not searching for approval because you have already given it to yourself. You have already recognized your own value. And that is why she moves through life with confidence. That is why she is not afraid to stand alone, because she knows she is never truly alone. She has herself. And that is enough. Now, do not get it wrong. This does not mean she has shut the world out or that she does not value relationships. She does. In fact, she likely values them more than most because she is selective. She is intentional about who she allows into her life. She will not just welcome anyone because she understands that her peace and energy are precious. She refuses to waste them on people who do not bring value into her life. She will not allow negativity or unnecessary chaos to enter the space she has worked so hard to cultivate. That is why her circle is small. It is not because she is incapable of making friends. It is because she understands the difference between genuine connections and surface level relationships. She knows that just because someone is present does not mean they are contributing positively. Just because someone claims to be a friend does not mean they truly have her best interests at heart. She has learned to differentiate between those who are there for the joy and those who will stay through the storms. And when you have been through enough challenges in life, you start to recognize who truly stands beside you. So when you see a woman with a small circle, do not assume she is missing out. Do not think she is lonely. She has made a conscious choice to be surrounded by people who uplift, support, and respect her. And let me tell you, having even one or two such people in your life is worth far more than having a large group of superficial acquaintances. It is easy to follow the crowd. It is easy to surround yourself with people just so you do not feel alone. But it takes strength to stand independently. It takes courage to say, I am going to walk my own path, even if not everyone understands. And that is exactly what this woman has done. She is walking her path. She is not trying to impress anyone. She is not attempting to fit in. She is focused on her own journey, her own personal growth, and her own aspirations. And when you have that level of focus, you simply do not have time for distractions, unnecessary drama, or the chaos that comes with constantly trying to please others. She is secure because she has found peace within herself. And once you have found that kind of peace, no one can take it away from you. It is not dependent on external validation. It is not about who is around or what they think of you. It is about how you feel about yourself. It is about recognizing your worth and refusing to accept anything less than you deserve. That is why she is not out here seeking validation from others. She does not need to. She has validated herself, she respects herself, she loves herself, and because of that, she is free. Free from the need to conform, free from the need to impress, free from the need to be everything to everyone. She is living life on her own terms. So the next time you see a woman who appears to be walking alone or with only a few close companions, understand that she is not lonely. She is free, she is secure, and that is a truly beautiful thing.